Hi guys, today's video is a little bit different. It may also be more different in that we might get some horsey friends in the background. Can't quite see where they are at the moment. They've been following me around the field. But it was always going to be a bit of a different video. I would like to pose you a question. And that question is, what is gin? If only it were that simple. I can hear them coming. Yes, gorgeous. Yes. But I still don't have any food. I know. No. Anyway, what is gin? The fact, why do we have to ask this question? I so nearly did not make this video. I was in two frames of mind. The first being, it's just talking. It is literally just words out into the air. Nothing's going to change, nothing's going to happen. So why bother? But the second idea in my mind was, I have an opinion on this. And if nothing else, I have the right to voice my opinion, and it may not help or speed anything along, but at least it will be there as a point of view and an indicator that there is an underlying problem with the gin category at the moment. If we don't talk about something, no one ever knows anything's wrong. I want to take gin on its own. I want to forget about any branding and marketing. I want to take the liquid on its own, and I understand that a product will naturally evolve over time and that styles will change and the botanicals we've got access to will always change. So I'm not even that fussed about looking at gin's history. That is well documented, and history is done and written. That, hello horsey, that is set in stone. We can't change history. But what I want to know is, what is gin today? The craze that we're having at the moment, what are we actually drinking? Do we know what we're drinking? Hi horsey. I know, it's exciting. Do you know what gin is? Can you help? Worth a try. No, obviously not. Taken from a legislative point of view, gin must be made from a neutral base spirit that has been distilled up to 96%. That base spirit can be made from any agricultural item. The only other criteria for defining gin is that it must taste predominantly of juniper. Predominantly. What does that mean? We don't know, horsey. I'm amazed that such a wishy-washy word as predominantly has been used in law. Surely the point of law is to really define things and nail them down so that there isn't any discrepancy. Something that genuinely concerns me is that when you make wine, every single batch that you make, you have to send 1 or 2 bottles off to a company for analysis. And they send it back to you, and you get a whole printout with the actual ABV, so the actual alcohol in there, to like several decimal places. You get the total acidity, you get the tartaric acid, you get the pH, you get this whole ream of data analysis for the liquid that is going in your bottle before it's even gone in a bottle. And if anyone in that company says, no, this isn't safe for public consumption, you can't sell that liquid. And this is where we can get to a point where we can actually act on discrepancies within wine. Say, for example, someone is labelling their wine at 14%, but it goes off for analysis and comes back and it's actually only 11.5. That would be illegal, and there are measures in place to deal with that issue. There's nothing like that for gin. You can just make whatever you like and stick it in a bottle and sell it. No one is stopping you. I'm not saying you need to analyse for flavour necessarily. We'll come on to that in a moment. I'm just saying analyse to make sure that the product is safe for consumption. Particularly these weird and wonderful botanicals and everyone hand foraging. How do you know that you're not putting something in there, that the chemical compounds aren't going to do something weird and they could make people ill? How do you know that? And equally, do you not want to know everything there is to know about your product? I'd find it fascinating to make my gin and then have it come back and go, oh yes, this is the exact alcohol, this is the exact pH, this is that, this is this. I'd find that really interesting. And those are the sort of records that distilleries should be keeping. So why aren't they? It's just something out there to think about. I know it would cost everyone money to send it off for analysis, and it's extra time and it's extra waiting. But if that ensures that the general public definitely have a safe product to consume and there are no issues, that's worth it. That is worth every penny. Coming on to juniper. Gin, as we all know, the name derives directly from the Latin juniperus, which means juniper, and our taste should be predominantly juniper. So my question to you first is, what is juniper? And that is a whole separate video. We can go into that in a lot more detail. But what I would like you to do is, next time you go shopping, put on your shopping list juniper. I want you to go and buy a little jar of juniper berries and taste them. I have got some here, which I imagine my horsey friends might just come running for. This is juniper berries. What I want you to do when you get your berry is just take a closer look at it. So this is a juniper berry. Nice little round berry. Now take that in the palm of your hand and squish it. Squish it around, and you should notice that it suddenly becomes quite oily and a bit sticky. Depending on how fresh the berries are, you'll notice that more. Mine aren't particularly fresh. And then give it a smell. Now you've released all those oils, you should really get the character of juniper. It's a really resinous, piney, lifted fragrance. It's a really pleasant fragrance on its own. And then once you've had a little smell and you've familiarised yourself with what juniper smells like, give it a taste. Depending on what you're used to eating, you might find that quite bitter. It's an acquired taste on its own, in fairness, but you should get like that complete gin character. A juniper berry should taste like gin. And that is where we come to the sticking point. Because gin does not necessarily taste like a juniper berry. So I want you to familiarise yourself with what juniper is, because that should be at the heart of every single gin. I'm afraid to tell you that it isn't. There are so many products out there now where you can barely taste the juniper. As far as I'm concerned, if you can't obviously detect juniper, then it's not gin, because then it's not predominant of juniper, is it? If you're getting some other flavours hitting you in the face and you're really having to search for the juniper amongst them, is that gin? Or is it flavoured vodka or something that just happens to have a little bit of juniper in it? I don't know, and it worries me that I don't know. This is the problem, this is the point of this video. I am not slating every single gin which doesn't taste immediately of juniper. Juniper can be used in a really delicate way, and there are amazing examples out there which still have a really succinct juniper core but are playing around with different botanicals, and you get different flavours lifting away. So it might not be the first thing you taste, but you can still ascertain it. There, of course, are issues in how we would go forward with this discussion if we were to actually say, right, you need X amount of juniper per recipe to make it predominant, or you need to be able to, I don't know, pick up juniper as a big spike on the analysis form. Those sort of things are so variable, but then so is flavour. What is predominant to one person will be either outrageously, horrendously in their face to another, or they just won't detect it. And I don't think that you can build a definition around something so personal as flavour. So I would almost be of the position that you just want to take out the word predominantly. But then equally, I don't want people to go, oh, well, it's got juniper in, therefore it's gin. Because no, that's not right. It should taste of juniper. Another aspect to consider is that of contemporary gin. It's huge and is obviously given so much scope for experimentation and innovation, and that's amazing. But at what point do your fancy new botanicals and really big flavours, at what point do they take over from the juniper? Everyone says we're pushing the boundaries of gin. The category is growing wider and wider, and more innovation is pushing the boundaries. That's a favourite marketing term, and I take issue with it because we don't have any boundaries to be pushed. How do we know when we've strayed so far from home if there's nothing to define where that boundary actually is? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with flavoured vodkas and eau de vies and all sorts of different spirits. Just don't call it gin. I guess I just want to put it out there as, what is gin? What do you think it is? I don't know. And discussing this here makes me go round in circles in my own head, let alone in any other broader discussion. So I want to know, what is gin to you? So yeah, 2 questions actually. What is gin, and what does gin mean to you? At what point does gin stop being gin? This one might take a little bit more thought, and it's definitely a topic that we're going to come back to time and time again until something is put in place. I think it's really important, actually, as gin lovers and the gin community, for us to want to protect it. At the moment, we're saying we're pushing the boundaries, but that is letting anyone in. Anyone and everything can be a gin. So we actually need to be really careful about what we are describing as gin. And if something doesn't live up to our expectations, we need to say something. It's the same with any topic, anywhere. If we don't talk about it, it will just go unnoticed and unhindered. Nothing will happen. So we've got to get this conversation started. It has already been started, and I know I'm just adding fuel to the fire. But hopefully it's triggered a few considerations, things that you may not have thought of, or just maybe you never even questioned it before. Questioned, what am I drinking? What is gin? See you next week.